do not go into a job if there are red flags. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be another tips video. Now before we get into that, firstly I just want to say thank you to all the love that I got on my last tips video about social work placement. The amount of feedback, the amount of views that I even got on that video is just, yeah, unbelievable. So like it says in the title, this video is going to be another tips video about doing your social work interview. Now I know this is one that I get a lot of questions about, but now we have a video. Now we have a video that captures everything that it needs to. So like I said in my last video, make sure that you get a pen, get your paper, and that you write this down, because I'm going to be dropping gems. So I think I'm going to structure this in two parts. I'm going to do part 1 and part 2, because if you look on my notes, I've literally got tips after tips after tips. So what I don't want is for this to be a really long video. So one of the things that you need to do is to exude professionalism. What was that? Exude professionalism. And what I mean by that is speaking the part, looking the part, and also feeling the part when you go to your interview, because what they're looking for is someone who is going to be prepared enough to go into the social work role. Like I said previously, you don't have to know it all, but you have to give a certain level of professionalism because of the kind of role that you're going to be doing when you're a social worker. And I know this is going to be a bit of a difficult one, but it's about being confident. Now, if you're someone like me who struggles with confidence, who struggles with being sometimes anxious in certain situations, I know this is probably going to be a tip that you struggle with, but making sure that you can come to your interview with a certain level of confidence is always good and will work in your stride. So one way that you can help with your confidence is by practicing your answers with someone. Now I know that's not the real deal, but it will help. It will help to have some practice questions that you can give practice answers to, and try and make sure that the person that you're practicing with can give you honest, critical feedback about your interview style, about the way that you're answering questions. If it can be your course tutor, if it could be another peer on your social work course, that would be quite helpful also, because you're in the same boat. But yeah, try and practice some answers before you go into your social work interview. Another tip that I have is about learning about the field that you're going into. Now I know that seems really quite obvious. So for example, if you've applied to be an adult social worker, I'm guessing there's a degree of knowledge that you have about adult social work. But honestly, I've been in a role where I've come across many a newly qualified social worker and they don't necessarily know anything about what they're there to do. How's that worked out? Like I said earlier, they're not expecting you to know everything, but at least the basics. And that's why you need to do your research before you go into your interview. Make sure that you know about the legislation that's relevant. Make sure you know about the kind of service users that you're going to be working with. Make sure you know about the difficulties that they're going to face. Make sure you know about what kind of assessments are you going to be doing in that role, what kind of tasks are you going to be doing in that role, what role are you going to have in that role, where do you fit in that service user's life, where do you fit in that service user's planning, where do you fit in that service user's whole entire involvement with social services. So yeah, it's about making sure that you know at least the basics in the field. Another tip that I have is about knowing the local authorities that you're going to be working for. Now the reason why I think this is a tip that you guys should know is because it's personalised then. If you are going somewhere and you've done your research about them as a whole, that always helps, that impresses, that makes them know actually this is someone who's done this is someone who's made the effort to know about us, to know about our strengths, to know about our areas for development, to know about what our highs have been over the past couple of years, that kind of thing. And yeah, it just puts you above that next person who who might have, I don't know, 2 or 3 interviews lined up and is just using the same stock answers for it. If you're that person who, yeah, maybe you have your stock answers too, but actually you're able to relate those answers to that specific local authority you're working for, that again will work in your stride. And leading on from that also is about looking at the Ofsted ratings for those local authorities. Obviously if you're working with children, looking at the Ofsted ratings, you know, what has been the criticism that that local authority has had, what has been the areas for development that that local authorities have had. If they've previously been requiring improvement, what do they need to do to get themselves out of that and maybe move to good or move to outstanding? What are the things that they need to do as a local authority to strengthen the service that they provide to their service users? So again, that's something that you need to look into, but also to see how your position can help in potentially improving or supporting the local authority to work towards that goal and that target. Something else to also think about is asking them about the package that they provide for newly qualified social workers. What support are you going to get? What kind of supervision are you going to get? What is the ratio of newly qualified social workers in the team? Who is going to be the person that is going to be designated to support you? So who's going to be your practice supervisor, or you know, who are you going to be buddying with if you get the job and you successfully start? Who is going to be able to support you so that your ASYE year is successful? So another thing to think about when you're answering your questions is to give examples, to give real examples, to give relevant examples. You know, how have you applied it in your personal life, in your professional life? How will you apply it in the role that you're going to be doing? There's no good saying,
I have good communication skills.
Okay, when have you had good communication skills? What previous roles have helped you to have good communication skills? How will you use these so-called communication skills that you have in the role that you're going into? So that's something else to consider. Something else to ask is about how do they look after their staff. Now, that is something that I think is so key, especially if you're going in as a newly qualified social worker. How do they look after their staff? How do they retain their staff? How do they support their staff? How do they manage their staff's caseload so that they're not just churning in social workers, churning out, social workers, and you're just going to be another body, or another bum on the seat that just doesn't make it. So that's something else to also ask. Be realistic about what you want to gain from the local authority that you're working with. Don't go in there thinking, I'm just going to be here for a year, do my assessed year, and I'm out. Because that doesn't give the impression that you're committed to that local authority. That doesn't give the impression that you want to add or contribute to the betterment of that local authority. So yeah, definitely don't say anything like that in the interview. Something else is also red flags. Now, if during your interview there's a red flag that you come across, and what I mean by that is something that they've said or something that they didn't say that makes you think,
I'm not so sure about this.
Listen to it. Do not go into a job if there are red flags. Do not go into a job if there are red flags. Especially if you're a newly qualified social worker, the last thing that you want to do is to go into a job where you've interviewed and you knew that something didn't feel quite right, and you've gone into the job and you don't feel that you can leave, or you have to leave because you're not being supported enough, because there's not enough staff, because you're just being dumped on. You know, that's not a way to start a career, and also it you know, sometimes will set you back rather than just trying to progress you. So I think I'm going to leave it there for part 1. So hopefully what I've said so far has been of help to you. Make sure you like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you in part 2 where I will give you more tips on the social work interview. Thanks, bye.